Welcome back to the channel. All right, today we're gonna have a short video. I know I've said that a lot of times, but this time I'm really gonna try. Goal is to try to keep this about 15 minutes or less, and it shouldn't be that hard because we don't have a ton to go over. Bitcoin hasn't done a whole lot, but I have a few suspicions of what we could see. So we'll go over that and we'll see if it plays out or not. Ethereum, there's been a good amount going on, so we'll spend a little bit of time there. EGLD and Cardano should also be fairly fast. So make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. Links to all my social stuff is in the description, so check it out if you'd like to do that. And let's get going. All right, so first thing we're gonna look at is Bitcoin. It's already up on the screen, and these two blue areas that you see here were predictions I made based on two different Fibonacci's and two different levels that we were seeing as potential short-term tops. You know, I still think these are both in the cards, but it really depends on where things go in the short term. And right now, one thing that I noticed that really stands out to me, if we start to look at the right-hand side, all right? I want you to look at this volume profile. As I start increasing the time frame, all right, I'm going back to about mid-February now. If we take a look at this volume profile, you'll see now that the volume that we're having in this trading range, basically in this purple box that we've created, it's been here for quite a long time. It's been our resistance zone and it's played out really well. We've hit resistance on it numerous times and traded within the zone. This resistance zone is now showing us more volume than we saw during the price being around 45 to 50K, and it's starting to reach, if not in the short term, it could surpass the amount of volume that we saw at around 30,000 to 37,000. Now that's a pretty important statistic because that means that it's unlikely now if we jump forward that we're going to be dropping below this level again. We could still drop back down to around the 50K level because as you can see, the volume's a little bit lighter there. So if some sell pressure occurs, it's very likely that we will get support in the support zone again, and likely we won't go below the golden pocket area, which is, you know, right now sitting between 50 to 51,000, basically 50,600 to 51,350. It's a pretty small range that we would consider the golden pocket right now. Okay, so a couple of other metrics to look at. If we look down at the bottom here, we're taking a look, hang on, let me zoom back into a better time frame. We're taking a look at the volume here. Now, the interesting thing with the volume is that the volume has been pretty decent, but we haven't had an explosion yet. If we start zooming out, you can see the areas of Bitcoin where we had massive rises or even dumps. And pretty much the volume is less than half of what it is at peak in those times. That tells me that even with the recent drops, they weren't very high volume drops. And with the recent price increase, it's not been a very high volume price increase. The only thing to keep in mind with that is that obviously as time goes on, the volume in the same percentage moves is going to decrease because the price is so much higher. So you can't have as much volume as you were having at lower prices. So that's one key thing, but I still think that it's very likely that at some point in the near future, we're gonna see a burst of buy volume like we did before that's gonna push the price up because we do have a lot of very wealthy investors that would still consider this and basically a steal. I mean, it's still a price that, you know, Morgan Stanley, a lot of on-chain analysts, JP Morgan, all these people are predicting Bitcoin to be in excess of 200,000 by the end of the year. At that point, if you're looking at 54,900 and that's a legitimate projection, then pretty much you're not going to get a better interest rate anywhere than buying Bitcoin at this point in time. I mean, when I say anywhere, I mean with any like normal financial instrument like securities or bonds or anything like that. Obviously, in certain other crypto assets, you could get a better return if they just keep exploding. So that's pretty much the key with Bitcoin. What I'm looking at is still about a $50,000 to $51,500 range for a potential drop. I still have orders sitting in the golden pocket in case it does drop to this area. Once again, between 50,600 and 51,350. My orders are a little bit higher than that, just in case it doesn't drop all the way there. But I might have to change that and make the orders higher because right now we are starting an uptrend, and that uptrend I would look at like right here. And if this holds, then that means the price may not drop below this purple box, which right now sits at around 53,250. So we may not see it go below there. There's no guarantee yet, but that's kind of what I'm looking at. If we do have a drop, we are likely either going to get support here and keep moving, or we're going to come down to this level, hit support and keep moving. I don't see it going much further than this. Nothing to indicate that it will right now. Now, one thing that we want to look at is this article here. The SEC chair, Gary Gensler, he recommended to Congress that they regulate crypto exchanges. This is nothing new, but the reason I bring this up is because it's very possible that you're going to see a lot of FUD articles about this coming out. And if they do, and FUD is fear, uncertainty, doubt, right? The media tries to portray it in those ways because it gets a lot of ad revenue for them. And if they do that, it could scare people into selling. And if they do, then it's very likely we'll hit support at those levels I mentioned. So that's why my orders are sitting there just in case it goes down. Pretty much the gist of this article, I'm not going to go into it, is that the SEC chair, Gary Gensler, is pretty much telling Congress that there aren't any protections in crypto exchanges right now for the majority of crypto holders. And that's a risk because they could, either lose their cryptocurrency or get hacked or certain things like that. They need additional regulation and protections to protect them. Now, there's two sides to that coin. Obviously, in some ways, that regulation does help the users, but in other ways, users don't really want the government to know everything they're doing, and this kind of regulation will likely require KYC, where you have to disclose your name, address, all that stuff if you haven't had to with your exchange already, and potentially, they could even take it into outside crypto holdings. So those kind of things could slow down progress for Bitcoin, so we have to keep an eye on it, but to be honest with you, if it does and the price drops a little bit, like back to 50, I'll be ready to pick some more up. It's just an opportunity in the short term. That is pretty much it for Bitcoin. I told you it would be fast. At the end of the day, if you watch the last video, you already know everything else. I mean, we have right here, the RSI is still sitting at around 48. MACD is still starting to turn. So nothing is looking bad. Everything is looking pretty steady. And honestly, volatility in Bitcoin has dropped a lot, which is always a good sign. Let's move on. We're going to go straight to Ethereum. Now with Ethereum, that's been moving up into a very high range. I've had to continuously adjust this Fibonacci retracement, and our golden pocket for this now sits between around 2,500 and 2,575. That's a very small range. And if you didn't hear this in the last video, the golden pocket is essentially a range that you could see the price drop down to when it has a massive uptrend. That's the range that it's mathematically most likely to come back and see. There's never a guarantee with it. I mean, there's never a guarantee with any TA. It's not like, no one's a psychic. No one knows exactly what's going to happen. But these patterns tend to repeat. So if it does repeat, we could see that. I'm starting to think it's unlikely. I don't know if we're going to see Bitcoin or Ethereum take that kind of a drop because Ethereum is just insanely bullish right now. One of the things to keep in mind is that very recently, the European Investment Bank, the EIB, issued $121 million in digital notes or bonds using Ethereum. That is essentially a financial institution saying that we are using Ethereum to issue bonds. That's huge. Nobody has ever done that, especially not a financial institution on a blockchain. And the fact that they used Ethereum to do this, it's a very bullish sign, and it correlates exactly with when the massive rise in Ethereum began to occur. So someone mentioned this to me in my previous live stream, so thank you for that. I can't remember who mentioned it. Somebody did, so I wanted to thank you. Basically, this is in essence, this is validation for financial for financial institutions to use Ethereum for certain financial types of transactions and services. That's pretty big because that's what DeFi is supposed to do. That's the point. Now, if they did this, there's no telling who's going to do it next and how much more liquidity might flow into something like Ethereum. And if it continues to do that, it's very likely that the Ethereum price will keep going up. Now, another thing to keep in mind is something I posted on Twitter very recently. I think there's some news articles about this. Very recently, just on Tuesday, there were a whole bunch of calls bought for Ethereum. And pretty much, I'm just going to go to my Twitter real quick so you can see it, because I don't remember the exact numbers. I posted it this morning after I was doing some reading. So it says here on Tuesday, 9,000 contracts of Ethereum's $8,000 calls expiring on the 25th of June were bought. Now, basically, traders are betting that Ethereum will double in the next 2 months, because if they're doing $8,000 calls and the price is around 3,400, it's essentially more than double. And the key here is that EIP 1559, which is essentially a planned Ethereum upgrade, is planned to roll out in July. And that's going to make gas fees more predictable, meaning that there won't be as much fluctuation. You'll have a very clear view into your gas fees and be able to tip the miners. and it'll start reducing the issuance of ETH by taking some of those fees and burning them. There's a lot more that's going to happen with that upgrade, but that's the gist of it. That should be very alluring to investors. So make sure you're aware of that. Clip Docs, thank you for following. I appreciate it, man. So keep that in mind. I mean, that's some very bullish news going on for Ethereum. And with all that happening and the amount of volume coming into it, I find it unlikely that it's going to take a massive drop right now. It seems unlikely that people would just start selling for profits with the potential of the next few months, Ethereum, doubling, that people are betting on that, and they're betting significant amount of money on that happening. As far as the chart goes, honestly, on the 4 hour, it's looking really good right now. The RSI is down to 56, meaning that it has room to move all the way up to 4,000 or 4,200 in the short term by extending the RSI again, so that could very well happen. We haven't really seen anything majorly bearish happen on the MACD either. If we switch on to the daily chart, you'll also notice on the daily chart, if we look at the TD sequential, the TD sequential just flashed a 9. This is a green 9, so this is very interesting. What you would like to see is a small drop with Ethereum now, a little bit below 3,200 to reset that 9. Because as you know, a red 9 on the TD sequential, especially on the daily chart, is a bearish signal. So that tells you that it's going to reverse at some point. We haven't seen that happen. There have been times that we've had 9 flashes, even with Bitcoin, and even with eGold, we've seen this. The price will go up significantly, and then you won't see it reset until it's already set a new high. So theoretically, this could go up to 4,000, 5,000, and then start having drops of about 20% and resetting this TD sequential. So keep that in mind. There's no guarantee with this type of TD sequential signal when there's so much bullish sentiment going on with the asset. But it is something to keep an eye on, because that is a bearish sign. It's just that, it's not always accurate. It depends. The sentiment of the market and psychology matters a lot too. Superfly Jason, thank you for following here on Twitch. I appreciate it. All right, we are now going to switch over. How are we doing on time? 11 minutes. Perfect. Okay, so let's switch over to eGold now. Now with eGold, I've also made some adjustments to the chart. I'm starting to do some of these adjustments before we get on stream and do the YouTube video, just to kind of help out time. But pretty much what we're seeing now is a lot of volatility decrease. Okay, this has been over the course of probably the last 2 weeks, right? Since we've been moving up to this range, since we moved up from about 150 now to 192, volatility has been decreasing. The other thing to note, I'm going to show you something else that I've created. I got to keep going back to my Twitter. I got to show you something else that I created and shared on Twitter. So make sure you follow me on Twitter to see some of these things when I post them. This is a chart here that basically shows us the inflow and outflow volume. I'm going to go over to full screen real quick. So this basically shows us the eGold exchange inflow and outflow volume. All right. So what we're seeing here, what I want you to keep in mind, this is over the last 7 days. I've actually updated this now on my end, but I'll post the updated one soon. This is from the 3rd of May. So from the 27th to the 3rd of May. And pretty much what we see here is that 8% of the exchange volume was flowing into exchanges. So that's stuff going on to the exchanges for trading or whatever, for people selling. Only 8%. The remaining 92% has gone off of exchanges. So that means at a price of 180 per eGold, when the price was 180, that was about $4.7 million going onto exchanges and about $58 million exiting exchanges in a 7-day period. That's a very bullish sign for eGold. I mean, that is saying that people don't think the price is going to go down. Otherwise, you'd see more inflow. Instead, what they're doing now is they're buying their eGold, they're removing it from the exchanges, more than likely moving it to Maiar so they can accumulate MEX tokens during the period of the snapshots, and also putting it into staking. There's staking providers making some changes now, going uncapped so more users can stake. One of the biggest issues eGold was facing was that people were coming in and buying their eGold, wanting to stake, and there weren't any staking providers available that were providing a good APR. A lot of the ones that were available for the last couple of weeks that were providing that had enough staking room for a lot of new buyers were providing like 0 APR because their nodes are still in queue. So that's very important that we have people taking efforts on the staking side to allow more users to stake. It's very important for the asset. So if you're one of the people that's been affected by this, you got to look at the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is, even if your APR is reduced for a short time, that's being made up for in the price, because more people are coming in because they're able to stake, and a lot of people want to do that. Opeth91, thank you for following as well. Now, as far as the chart goes, it's quite simple what we're seeing here. We're staying right at the 20 exponential moving average on the daily, and that's a great place to be. We've gotten support on it all the way through. The 50 exponential moving average has moved up now, so the gap between the 50 and the 20 is not that big. We see the 20 sitting at around 180, and we see the 50 sitting at around 170. It's a really good gap. Then we have the 100 exponential moving average. That's all the way down here at 145, but that's below our golden pocket. Now, the interesting thing about this is that in the next couple of days, this 100 exponential moving average is going to be going into the golden pocket. So it's very possible that this could, trigger something in the mind of investors and potential buyers. I have a feeling that sometime in the near future, it could be a day or it could be 3 days, we're going to see another burst. And I think that burst is going to take us above the previous all-time high. We're probably going to start going into the 255 to 260 level. It may not be that short. I mean, the chart just looks like that. The MACD looking like it's starting to flip into a bullish area. We see the RSI is still sitting at 53, which means it has massive room for further price appreciation. And we also see that we're getting a lot of support where we are right now. The price is not falling below a certain range. Yesterday, our range was 175 to 190. And today, the entire day, our range has been 184 all the way up to 207. And we're sitting right in the middle. The way the candle looks right now, it's basically a doji candle. This is an undecided candle, right? That means that the sentiment of the market is not bearish and, it's not gone particularly bullish yet. So it's kind of in between. People are just accumulating. And I think we might continue seeing that for a little bit. But once this happens, you start to see an inflection point where the price just blows up. So keep it in mind. It could happen very soon. Personally, I hope it doesn't. I hope that the opposite happens and the price somehow drops back down to around 150, because then my orders will trigger and I'll get a little bit more EGLD at a better price. So I don't know if that's going to happen, but right now my orders are sitting between 145 and 155, and if they're lucky enough to trigger, that'll be great. If they don't trigger in the next few days, I might have to raise them up after resetting this area in the chart. That's pretty much it for EGLD. It's looking good. Nothing I'm seeing here is concerning me, so that's a really good sign, especially after the recent drop. I know people were scared, but I told you in the last video, these drops are a good thing. You need them. All right, so the next thing is Cardano. This is our last one. Cardano has made massive moves. I've adjusted the Fibonacci retracement to a new local low, and basically what we are seeing now is something really interesting. It is not only set a new high, but you'll see here one major difference, okay? These previous tops, let's take a look at them. They're about even, right? They're not too far in distance. This top is a significant increase. If we take the difference between this top and the previous top, that's about almost a 10% difference, like 8%. We probably want to go down to where the majority of the volume of that top is, because that's where most people bought. So like right around here to about here, we are sitting at roughly a 14-point increase. And if we go to where the price is sitting right now, that's about a 10% increase. So that's a pretty massive increase with a new all-time high. I really like to see that because of the fact that Cardano was sitting in such a low volatility area for so long. And this is what you end up seeing happening, right? When you see low volatility for a long period of time, eventually what's going to happen is that you're going to have a much bigger range of things occurring as far as price goes. I'm going to go back to that other zoomed area. Okay, so let's see here if we have anything else we want to take a look at. We'll take a look at the RSI real quick. The RSI on the 4-hour is slightly overextended, nothing major yet. You can see it down here. The MACD is extremely bullish. It's not looking overextended yet. Sometimes the MACDs on these assets, let me see if I can zoom in a bit more for you so you can see the MACD better. So the MACD is there at the bottom. So this MACD looks like it could be flipping, but there are a lot of times that you'll see movements like this where it starts flipping and then just goes green again. So that could mean a slight consolidation. And what I want to see if Cardano consolidates is I want to see what it did here. All right, so you see this. Let's zoom in a bit more on the 4-hour so you can get a better look. You see this orange line? This is our trend line for moving up. That's our trading channel that we've been sitting at. We hit a little bit of resistance there, then we hit support there. I want to see more support there. I want to see the price come down to these levels. Ideally something like this, something like the price coming down here, trading in this range, and then going up and then coming back down here. If it can do that and set a bigger volume profile here, then it's very unlikely it's going to drop below this. It'll likely go sideways and then move up further, and it could cross $2 sooner than we think. Remember, after having such a long consolidation, you have a ton of buyers now that are in the $1 to $1.50 range. All these buyers are not going to want to take any profits until above $2 possibly, maybe even around $2.50. So that's making this asset a lot stronger. The new Fibonacci retracement with a shorter local low is showing us that we have a golden pocket area of around $1.18 to about $1.21. That essentially means that if we were to see a consolidation again from here, it's unlikely that we're going to go below $1.20. So if you bought before $1.20, good for you. That was probably a good move. That is about it for today, you guys. I know we went a little bit over. Did we really? 20 minutes? That's not too bad. That's not too bad. It's better than 40. But that's about it. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you leave me a comment if you enjoyed the video being a little bit shorter than before. And if you prefer this, I'll try to shorten them even more as we go and only go over very specific things like I did today. We can still do a longer video maybe once every 2 weeks where we kind of dive deeper into the charts and do more live analysis. Okay, that's about it, you guys. I appreciate you. Like, subscribe, check out Twitter, check out Twitch. Links in description. Thank you for joining me. Have a great day. Peace.